50 miles southwest of Memphis, down the Mississippi River, is the port city of Helena, Arkansas. If you lived here at the turn of the 20th century, you would have walked a majestic shoreline, past modern steamboats and lumber factory towers bellowing with smoke. You could have traversed scenic Cunningham Road to Cherry, Helena's once enchanting Main Street. You would have strolled past tourists from exotic places. You would have window shopped the latest fashions and dined at any number of Helena's quaint eateries. And you would have been among the first people to hear an emerging sound that was to soon influence the world and alter the future of popular music. Arkansas Delta Blues. You would have fallen in love with this place. But had you ventured away from the bright lights, you would have discovered another side of Helena at the turn of the century, one of hardship, of families of enslaved people continuing to be exploited in the discriminatory laws and practices of sharecropping, barely getting by, and whose back-breaking work empowered the success of the town. You would have seen the same blues musicians celebrated in the music venues and juke joints, living in squalor, impoverished, and struggling to survive. That truth of Helena has always been the dichotomy of this place. But it's in that space between its beauty and its harshness is where Helena's greatest strength lies. The passion of a few locals who, despite the system of oppression, have always managed to fight for their hometown and reignite the heartbeat of this special place with a unique importance in the story of America. One such local was U.D. Williams, the son of an enslaved person and himself a sharecropper in Helena, who, shortly after the horror of the Elaine Massacre, the deadliest incident of racial violence in the history of Arkansas that happened after a group of black farmers tried to improve their wages and unionize, disrupted a corrupt system to buy his farm out of sharecropping, create a better life for his family, and inspire prosperity and hope around him. But near the close of the 20th century, Helena experienced its greatest defeat when the industries supporting it collapsed, devastating the town for decades to come. Walk its shorelines today and you'll see skeletons of what once was, outlines of abandoned cotton processing factories falling into disarray, decaying churches and homes, storefronts abandoned and rotting. It's impossible to be here today and not feel like something went terribly wrong. That is until you take a drive into town and notice something remarkable happening on the corner of Cherry and Ryder Streets. Innovation has once again come to Main Street, and it's not just causing a local stir, it's having a national impact. The legacy of U.D. Williams can be found once again in Helena, living on through his grandson, Harvey Williams Jr., who, along with his wife and kids, coming from his background in farming, has opened a local distillery, and it's thriving. They are helping to bring the heartbeat back to Main Street, Helena, by turning sweet potatoes from their fourth-generation family farm into award-winning vodka.
We chose to use sweet potatoes and to turn these sweet potatoes into a vodka. An American-made, handcrafted vodka is innovation, is creativity. My name is Harvey Williams Jr. We are here on our family farm for almost 5-generation farming here with my sons. A land where my great-grandfather started farming this land. My grandfather farmed it, my dad did, and now my brothers and I are farming this land. This rock road where this farm is, I grew up as a kid coming down this road and seeing, I knew Mr. Brown, I knew Mr. Cape, all these black farmers up and down this road, which speaks to the early 1900s when 20 million acres of land was owned by black people in this country. And now it's less than 2 million acres, which is a complete travesty, right? So yeah, I am proud that we still have our farm, but I'm also saddened to know that there's so many black families that were beaten or cheating, or just their land is no longer in their family. That's not good news. The more I think about my great-grandfather farming this land and his whole dream of owning this land, so much so that he would commit his whole life to sharecropping this land. And then his son my granddad to follow behind him and have that same aspiration to find a courageous way of getting out of that sharecropping system. And then my dad started farming that same land. He started growing vegetables, and I'm talking 80 acres of squash, yellow squash, zucchini squash, and that was unheard of in this area. This is cotton country. This is corn and soybean country, right? So for him to do vegetables in that way was unheard of and uncommon. It's just a phenomenal American story. To me, it's a uniquely American story that one black family in the Arkansas Delta was able to make happen. My wife and I, we've always wanted to come back home to the Delta, and we did that. And I wanted to farm, but maybe not farm necessarily in a traditional sense, but farm that I could turn this farm into what my dad's dream was, to have a value added, have something more than raising a commodity crop. And the idea of starting a distillery, it checked every box for my wife and I in terms of us owning a business, building a brand, building a business, using our own creativity and innovation. We chose to use sweet potatoes, and to turn these sweet potatoes into a vodka. And the recipe that my sons and I came up with for this vodka is like none other. When we opened up the distillery downtown Helena, which is a beautiful street, the historic downtown Cherry Street is a beautiful place. We did have some naysayers. I mean, absolutely, there were some people said, "Why are you investing your money into a town and a county that continues to lose population?" I was at the point where I wanted to see change. I wanted to see something different. Something told me one day, well, you're not changing, you're not doing it, so be the change that you want to see. So if you want to see someone else do it, show them how that's done. Now, I may have been naive, may have been crazy, but you really have to step out there, and I'm trying to show a path forward that you can revitalize your community. You just got to get off the sidelines and do it.
The first real boom of Helena happened in the late 1800s, and primarily because Helena was a port city. And so you had people that were traveling up and down the river, and they would come and stop in Helena. And Helena was just like one of those places where basically you could do anything and have fun. And one of those things that they would do is they would come and have fun, and they would listen to the music. And one of those music genres was the blues. And it was from there that blues just took off, and so did the downtown Cherry Street of downtown Helena. And so as the blues began to take off, we then had the inception of King Biscuit Time. And King Biscuit Time was a blues show that allowed local artists to play their music forms of the blues, and it gave them a platform. And with that, then we began to see blues artists from all over the world began to come to play on King Biscuit Time. And it just caused the radio show itself to just take off as well. But unfortunately, in the early 1970s, with the demise of manufacturing, we began to see a big wave of people begin to leave Helena. But we do believe that there's hope now, because we have local businesses such as Delta Distillery who've come in and they've made an effort to rebuild Helena. And we're happy about that, and we think that Helena are now on their way up.
No, I did not want to do this, but I support Harvey, so I wanted to do this for him. Excited, surprised, happy that it's being as successful as it is. It's actually making more of an impact than we realized at such a short time period. But it was still scary, because if you look out on Cherry Street, there's nothing here. So it's like, are you crazy that you want to do what here? But, we got faith in him, so, he made it happen.
I would say being here in Helena it's a challenge, but also it presents a lot of opportunity. So being here means you see potential on a daily basis. So what it looks like now is not the Cherry Street that we see when we envision the future for where we are.
People love to say, Main Street here in Helena had its heyday. Unfortunately, that was before our time, but anywhere you are in the world, you make the most of what you have. So here, Helena is Helena. We want to bring that day where people want to come here and have some rich history. It's more than just a blues town here in Helena. There's just a variety of people, a huge spectrum of things to do. You just have to go and find them.
What makes Harvey Williams' story so big is in the middle of all this despair, we have someone moving here trying to turn things around. In the last few years, the positives I have seen, well, there are only one or two, are local entrepreneurs trying to turn things around. Delta Dirt is one of the largest positives we've seen here, I would say, in 15 or 20 years. We've tried to do our economic development through government grants, through, I don't want to say handouts, but through asking others to come in and invest in us. But what really has to happen is we need local people who are entrepreneurs deciding to draw a line in the sand and invest here and build organically. And if he's able to do that, and if his manufacturing grows, that has a chance of doing something that we haven't seen in Phillips County in probably 50 years.
I can see so much potential on Cherry Street. So I'd like for my kids and my future grandkids to one day come down here and see life, see it the way, like on a different level than when I was growing up, because there could be a lot of stuff. There doesn't just have to be the distillery. There could be the grocery store. There could be, I like to get my nails done, so I could see a nail shop and, salon and clothing and just something for everyone and just have, you can't find this anywhere. So if they could just kind of build it up one building at a time, I think they'd be surprised at what they get.
To be honest, I didn't know that this business that we are doing was going to turn into such a catalyst for the community to revitalize and want to revitalize itself. It almost serves as an inspiration for other small businesses and this downtown Helena revitalization. It does fit what I want for our brand, and that's to create spirits that inspire. But it seems to be being an inspiration and motivation for a lot of small businesses and people who want to start their own businesses in the Delta. And I hope we can continue to be that. And it's a lot of work, but there is joy and a lot of fulfillment in being able to help bring your community back from a place that was once a very thriving community. It can be that and more, in my opinion.